Two. Hello and welcome to another episode of The Modern Nerd. I am Sir Slice,
I'm Merchandise.
And I'm GJC.
and we are, as always, massive nerds. So, yeah, we just did some She-Hulk stuff on the last episode, and that was a good one. It was a nice, fun conversation, and
It was
now we're
heated.
gonna go into. It was good though. It was a good conversation. And now we're going to do D23, and we'll do another one with House of the Dragon in a minute here. So, before I do that, as always, everyone here, thank you, George, thank you, Dan, for doing this with us. Thank you for watching, everybody. Make sure you give it a love, a like, a subscribe, a follow, a thumbs up, all of the stuff. Follow all the socials. Follow me, Sir Slice13 on Twitch. I'm doing a bunch more stuff now. Make sure, if you're not already following George, right here on GJC327, and make sure you check out the Modern Nerd YouTube. It's good stuff. To that end, we have today, we're going to talk a little bit more about D23. Now, we did that a little bit before. I don't remember which episodes, maybe 2 episodes ago, when we did another House of the Dragon review. But as you can see here, we're going to go over some of the trailers, some of the announcements. I finally had a chance to watch all of them. Yeah, what do you want to start with? Was anything that we are all excited
I showed a few
about?
actually after stream when
I saw that.
Tim took a
You
break.
showed the Disenchanted trailer.
I did. We can start with that.
I thought that was a fun trailer. I liked the first one. I thought it was a fun concept, and now she kind of is essentially she's becoming the evil villain of the enchanted fairy tale land that
it's
gets
our
brought
favorite.
to
It's our favorite theme in all of writing.
evil stepmother.
It's our favorite theme, except for it's with Disney style princesses, which is either die the hero or you live long enough to become the villain. And that's totally what's happening to this poor girl, which is totally classic fairy tale. I love the idea that she starts off as a good person and then she becomes an evil queen, because then it's a great thing for Rachel Adams to play the gambit of it. And also Amy Adams. Amy Adams, shout out for those of you who remember her all the way from Smallville season 1.
What?
All the way from Smallville season 1.
She was the girl that had the appetite. I don't really.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh man.
That's her.
Yeah.
Wow. Throwback.
Yeah. There's a great. What's his name?
It's interesting.
Tom
that she's
Wells
like one
and
of the few that...
I keep forgetting the guy who plays Lex.
Michael Rosenbaum.
Yeah, they have that interview where they talk about working with Amy.
That's
and they said even then they knew she wasn't like she only was there for one episode, and so she wasn't like, she didn't get to spend a lot of time with them, but they said even then she was like very professional and like on top of it. They were surprised how well she did all the eating scenes, and I was like,
she
I was like, yeah, probably. I believe it, and now you know why she was good back then, in season 1 of Smallville, where she got her big break, if you will.
Are you watching their podcast where there's Talkville or whatever they're calling it?
Yeah, I watch occasional clips. I don't watch the full thing. If there's something interesting, I'll click on it. I'll watch like a minute or two.
I follow Rosenbaum's podcast. I'd say Amy Adams has like the most successful career of anyone on that show after the show. I mean, obviously you had like, John Glover and the guy who played one of the Duke brothers in Dukes of Hazzard, who, was his father and everything. But up and coming stars, she's, Academy Award nominee, if not winner. I can't remember. But I like her in this because it's, she does a good a good transition. You see a couple of the little ones in there where she's like all like happy, cheery princess, and then like, does her little like evil voice. And I thought
I really liked that
fun.
first movie. It was funny.
Yeah, it was. It was entertaining.
And it's funny because it's like it showed that Disney was okay with poking fun at itself.
Yeah. Yeah. It was. Smirch? Any? Didn't watch it. Didn't care.
No, I didn't see the first one either.
That's all right. Let's go into they did and I don't know if we talked about it or not, but they had the new Hocus Pocus 2 trailer, which showed you a little bit more about the story, because the first one was more of like a teaser to be like, look, the characters, and they're back, and you're like, oh, look at that character. Because I'm not going to do the classic, but we get to see that it's, I guess, younger witches turning 16 and lighting the candle is, I think, what's supposed to be happening here is like ushering in a new generation of the witches, and so it's, you get to see a little bit more use of like the CGI and their powers when they like put the salt down, and she uses like a like shoots like a bolt or something at her. So it's like the original didn't have a whole lot of that. There was mostly just like flying, and that was really the only real special effect, a couple of beams of light or something like that, but not a ton of like witchcraft that was being done. So you get to see a little bit more with like the CGI and the stuff they're going to do. And the story looks fine. Would this have been better 15 years ago? Yeah, probably. I think it would have, I think made more sense to do. But I think right now everybody and their mother is doing remakes and reboots and sequels to things that are 40 years old and like that kind of stuff. I guess that's a trend that's happening, and we just kind of have to accept it. Whether we watch these or not is a whole nother thing. I'll probably see this because that was
I will definitely watch this.
Part of my childhood. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm definitely gonna watch Hocus Pocus too. Are you kidding me?
it's got Doug Jones back, and he looks exactly the same. Like the zombie looks exactly the same, and I was like, oh, well, that's cool. They didn't like change anything. It's fun. Yeah, it's Doug Jones.
I think a good segue would be the other two things that are remakes or continuation, which is Willow.
Sure,
was one of them.
Sure.
I watched Willow was one of my favorite like films as a kid. I barely spoke English when I watched this film, but I remember being just captivated by it, because I was just like enchanted by what I was seeing on the screen.
Yeah.
I should watch it again now that I have a complete grasp of the language, or at least 50% grasp of the language.
Dan, did you watch Willow growing up? No? All right, we haven't hit a single movie that Dan has seen or is like cares about. But the series, the trailer looked cool. Like
No, I remember seeing like the ending of Willow, and everyone's like, "Willow's back, Willow," and I had no idea
it's
what
Willow.
was going on. But I was like, "Willow," and in this trailer, everyone's like, "Willow." It was just kind of funny.
Yeah, it looks good. You got the orcs again, and yeah, the new cast of characters looks interesting and fun. It looks like they do have like a Mad Mardigan type with that older guy with like the beard, and I was like, cool. It's like a new Val Kilmer character, and it's like they're gonna play off of a lot of the same formula because I think it worked back then. It was like a kids Lord of the Rings type movie and everything, and it worked, and like it worked for like. And this might just be nostalgia. I can't look at it with fresh eyes now because I grew up with it, but I think it works still. I watched it in the last couple of years, and I think it holds up, and it looks pretty good from the original one. Solid storytelling. Again, another great Val Kilmer performance in the original. So I am interested to see what they do and what the story is going to be for Willow. I think out of all of the ones we're going to talk about today, that might be one of the ones I'm a little bit more excited about watching, because good writers hopefully, and it should be fun.
And then Dan, the other one is with Tim Allen.
Well, that was the other one I'm actually excited about, because this is a weird sentence for me to say, and I was thinking about it a lot since I saw the trailer. It's like Tim Allen is my Santa Claus.
He kind of is.
That is like what I grew up watching. Like I saw Miracle on 34th Street, and I've seen a bunch of other like movies with Santa Claus in it, and Elf has like
I've seen some really old all that, ones, but sure, but that's Tim not Allen who identified.
My Santa Claus.
Yeah, I kind of agree.
I did rewatch it, and I was like, oh yeah, there's Tim Allen jokes in there, and they don't age well for some of it. Most of it's fine, but there's definitely some like Tim Allen jokes. But he hasn't had the most illustrious career, if you will. He had Home Improvement. He had this. He had his movies are fine.
Buzz Lightyear.
His
Toy
behind the
Story.
scenes, his off the camera persona is not the greatest. He's not necessarily a great person. But nostalgia is going to bring me into this, and I'm going to see what they did. They brought back Bernard, the elf and everything, and I'm like, all right, like they got everyone back
They
together.
got the crew.
Yeah, so again, Disney's pioneering the, hey, do you remember the member berries? Yeah, I remember.
You remember this? Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, I remember. They're just we're just giving them all of our nostalgia monies, and it's how it goes. But these are Disney Plus stuff, so I mean, I'm already watching other things. I'm not gonna have to necessarily see it in theaters and give them my hard-earned dollars.
I think the next thing, National Treasure, is sort of like that.
Yeah.
Edge of
There's one I
History.
want to wait for the end of, but that looked stupid.
I feel like if Nicolas
just don't
Cage doesn't
care.
show up in this show at the end of the series, then the series has no, like, it's just like, God dang it. Like, can we at least have a Nicolas Cage cameo, like, possibly at the end of this?
Like,
Or at least
honestly, that's
I
what
don't
those
know.
movies are about. Like, they're like a decent Nick Cage movie where he's not
Exactly.
completely over the top, and he
Right.
actually is like a little more grounded, and it's a fun character. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, cool. I'll watch
It's
this for
like-
the Nick Cage character.
It's Nicolas
Now they're
Cage
like-
as the Da Vinci Code, you know?
Yeah. And now it's a bunch of teenagers and 20-somethings Da Vinci Code. And I'm like, I don't care. They did have a clip of Riley at the end, so I was like,
Right.
oh, okay, he's in it. That's probably the only time we're gonna see him in the show, but whatever. I don't know. Did you watch this trailer, Dan?
No.
Yeah, it didn't.
I mean,
It didn't really.
I wasn't even a huge National Treasure fan to begin with. It was
That's
alright.
fine.
You know,
That's
it
fine.
was okay.
I like National
But I
Treasure.
mean,
It's light, it's
I
funny.
knew like National Treasure without Nicolas Cage. I was like, what's the selling point here? Like,
Exactly.
It's just a
I don't know.
fun romp. It's an American Da Vinci Code.
It's a fun romp. That is like the baseline selling point of everything in all of these movies that we're talking about. And they're just capitalizing on our old nostalgia of things that were, upon revisiting, we realized weren't really that good to begin with. But we're all just like, yeah, sure.
That's interesting. Nothing here is something they didn't do already. Other than, I mean, maybe Mando season 3 doesn't count because that's just another season of a TV show but that's recent, But it is like nostalgia Star Wars. Andor is playing off of, something that came out, 7 years ago, whatever it is. Oh man, I left Snips out of the fucking thing. I feel so bad. I had her too, and I didn't put her in there.
Who's Snips?
Ahsoka.
Oh,
She's supposed to be in the right next to Andor. She was gonna go right there.
I am excited for that.
I am too. Star Wars, Tale of a Jedi, I think is what it was.
Wait,
Or
Called
Jedi
shorts?
Tales.
Jedi Tales.
Oh, those are the shorts, right?
No, A Tale of a Jedi.
Tales
Oh,
of the Jedi.
That's
Tales of the Jedi.
Rosario Dawson live action. That's the one.
That's not the
No.
Rosario Dawson live
This is-
action. It's
this-
the animated one, but it's different. And it's like done by the same people who did
Those
Clone
are
Wars.
6 animated shorts. It's not a series.
Is that what they are? It
Yeah,
looked
they're a
like
bunch
it
of
was
animated
all
shorts.
Ahsoka based.
No,
Yeah, no,
it's different stories
No?
about different people. It's gonna
Actually,
one of them is
those
gonna
look
be about a
pretty
young
cool.
Dooku.
I mean, though they've proven themselves competent and like making good content, but I don't know,
Yeah.
something about hearing the fact that there are like 6 animated shorts. I'm just like, oh, all right, cool. I guess.
I-
I
The
don't-
Bad
Did I
Batch,
miss
I
a
think, is
trailer
getting
then?
a third season. So I mean, like,
Bad Batch is getting another season. I haven't watched the first one, so I didn't watch a trailer for that.
Hmm.
But I thought it was all right. Well, I mean, I'm excited for that animated one. They did. Did anybody watch those Star Wars? They did like the anime. It was like an animatrix type thing. They did this already, but it was like all different anime style art and everything, and it was all Star Wars tales, but like just random characters you've never heard of or something like that, or
Yeah, in the Star
or
Wars
deep
universe.
canons. It was actually, there were some really cool, really beautiful things. Some were fine, but some were just like awesome. So they're on Disney Plus. If you check them out, they're actually, I think they're worth watching because they're not terribly long, but they're a fun series.
Mhm.
I watched the Andor trailer. Again, I'm on the fence about it. I'm actually hearing a lot of really good stuff about it, so I might, from like the industry people that have seen it and all that stuff. There's been some reviews of it, and people have really said like, "Hey, don't sleep on this. Like,
Hey,
it's a good,
cool.
well told story." And I was like, hopefully it is. They need a win here, but
Looking forward. Me and George are
I don't
looking
know.
forward to hearing your thoughts about it.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna watch it or not.
Oh, okay.
And then there was Mando season 3, which I'm excited for. It's yeah, solid stuff.
Katie Sackhoff.
Katie Sackhoff is
More
back.
Katie
I'm
Sackhoff.
excited for
More
that.
Sasha Banks. I say
More
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 Mercedes.
Sasha Banks. Yeah,
Mercedes
she's great in that. Finally, like toned down some of the acting, which is
I
good.
love it.
I
Just
think
side
some of the
note, I
battles are.
love that she is like everywhere right now and just rubbing
Katie?
it in like the face of the company. Like, like, all right, you're gonna suspend me? Fine.
Sasha.
Every red carpet right now that is Disney related, I'm gonna bring my tag team partner and we're just gonna fucking strut our shit. And I love her attitude because she showed up at almost every single like red carpet in the last few days, and she's been like pretty like, and she's been dressed really well. So like a lot of people have been taking pictures of her and Naomi just strutting red carpets this last like month or two. It's amazing.
They're making statements.
Yeah, I love it.
Aside from maybe Mandalorian, I'm gonna double down here and kind of be like, all of these things are things we're not going to be talking about after we've watched them. They are going to come and go because this is like what Disney is doing. It's just churning out sequels of things that are largely for remakes that are largely forgettable. The most talked about, like the Little Mermaid, I think it's honestly, I think it's great. The casting is good. Like it's like I have zero. I think it's awesome.
Yeah,
but it's still a Disney live action remake, and no one will mention it a year from now because that's the way they've all gone. They've all been watered down, not as good versions. And it's just Disney clearly trying to make money, and that's just what it will be, and that's what a lot of these will be.
I think
that.
The only one, honestly, you're right. Probably, at least for the podcast point of view, for this show's point of view, probably Mando and like Little Mermaid are the only ones we're gonna actually talk about and review. On like a serious note, we might talk about Santa Claus or whatever, like, oh, Disenchanted happened, but it'll be like in passing kind of thing. But I will gladly give.
Disenchanted seems at least a little unique in some sense, so I want to give them a little more props, and I like Amy Adams, but like the Little Mermaid, I guarantee you, us three are going to be right here going, so that was a remake, and there was this one thing that was different. The rest of it just felt like it wasn't as good or didn't have as much soul because that's how they've all gone so far. I mean, there hasn't been a single like Disney remake stand out like at all so far, and I don't think there's going to be one ever.
I liked Beauty and the Beast. I thought that was good.
It's okay.
Yeah,
it's fine. That's what they're going to be because it's just Disney trying to get money, and it's like it's too obvious. It's not like it's a passion project or something. It's just a clear like a lot of these are like, you could say a lot of Star Wars movies are cash grabs, but people are excited for those. And I don't know, maybe people are excited for these, like, oh, this was my favorite Disney movie, I look forward to seeing it, and then they come out of it going, well, that was no one's ever like, yeah, it's just yeah.
I mean, like Aladdin, Lion King, and Little Mermaid were like my favorite ones growing up as a kid, and I saw the Aladdin movie. And
how'd you feel about the Lion King either? Like,
never watched it because that's not a live action remake. Like, how can you tell me you're making a live action version of this? Because you can't. Like, you can't make a movie with a lion in it and have, like, that's not a live. That's just a CGI version of an animated. Right. I'm like, what is wrong with you guys? That one I'm never gonna watch because funny. It's just you can't be. Funny. You got Matthew Broderick and just everything was great about that original. Nathan Lane, I think wasn't he with the Pumbaa? No, sure. Yeah,
was it Nathan Lane?
It was someone that sounded like him.
It was Nathan Lane.
Was it?
Nathan Lane
there's
type.
Nathan Lane and there's someone else, and they sound similar, and I
Yeah.
can't remember who that someone else is ever, and it might be
Dude,
Pumbaa.
Jeremy Irons is Scar. Wait, wasn't Jeremy Irons also Scar in the remake? Was that?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I know that
Jeremy
they brought
Irons,
back James Earl Jones. I
Yeah,
think.
of course they brought back James Earl Jones.
That's what they brought back.
Yeah, but I
And
don't
then
think
it
they brought
had
back Jeremy
Beyonce.
Irons.
Right.
Yeah.
She
I
had
was like,
like
okay.
3 lines.
But I do want to talk about the Little Mermaid like a little bit. It was a teaser very much, and you know, cool. You know, it looked fine, and you know, the big conversation really is about like the hate that it's getting for the wrong reasons. You know, if you're gonna hate on a remake, just hate it because it's a remake. That's fine. If you're like, I'm tired of seeing Disney remakes, cool. That's a normal statement to say from a normal, well-adjusted human being. But when someone starts going, she's black, what? Like that's like, shut the fuck up, man. Like who? They're mermaids. They're not fucking real, man. Like what's wrong with you? Like
I would
anybody
argue
can do this.
I would argue there's some sexism there as well, because no one batted an eye when Will Smith was cast as the genie. Like,
Yeah, like it was just
and everyone's losing. It's barely a trailer. Like, I guarantee you, all the people losing their minds about this shit and like bitching and moaning have never given 2 shits about casting of any Disney remake before this moment. And then all of a sudden, oh, now you care? Like, go back to your fucking shitty life. Like, I don't know, man. I really don't. It's really quite triggering. It was, you know, the only reason that people stopped talking about the whole She-Hulk twerking thing is because this has taken over the airwaves. Yeah. And now it's like a whole new thing for me to be triggered about. It's like, why do you like what how does this affect your life, man? Like, take a look at yourself. I'm saying men because I'm pretty sure it's mostly men getting upset about this, and it's anyway.
No, it's true. It's disappointing. You know, it happened with what's her name that played Reva in Star Wars. It happened with this. Like it's happening a lot, and it's fucking awful. And you know, if anything I can say, you know, like if anyone wants to this is a place for happiness. The world should be a place for happiness and enjoyment and art. And this is pretty much what this is. All movies are art. They're all art forms. And every story, if they're remaking it, is open to interpretation. You know what I mean? You can interpret it however you want. And another way of interpreting it is recasting and gender swapping and, you know, doing all these different things. And that's great, you know, and I think my favorite thing that I saw was those videos of like young black girls watching this trailer and being like crying because they're so happy. They're like, "Oh my god, she looks like me." Like, and she's got like some dreads in her hair and she's like, "My hair looks like that." Like, I love seeing those moments where like, you know, like other people can look at a movie and feel that connection, you know, that a lot of us, you know, older white men and white women have had the rest of our lives because that's what Hollywood was for, you know, 100 years, was just white people. And if there was, you know, a person of color, it was usually brought in as like thug number 4 or something like that. So to see this and have proper representation across the board for not just black people, for Asian people, for Latina, Latinx, and for, you know, we've got, you know, like Israeli superheroes and Egyptian superheroes and like all this stuff that's happening is just wonderful. Like, I'm just excited to see all of this diversity, all these different peoples and all this different culture being put on the screen, because if we don't, like, one, it's gonna get boring, you know, because it's just all the same shit regurgitated, but two, it's we get to see new interpretations and new people's art forms we haven't seen before, and it's I love it, and I'm excited for it, and I encourage it. So, you know, if this was in theaters, I'd give it money, and if it is, I don't know if they're going to put it in theaters. I think it is, right? I will go give it my money. I mean, yes, it's the House of Mouse and they're getting money and whatever, but to help these creators and help these actors and writers and actresses and give them love, that's what I would go see and put my money on, is stuff like this to help offset the hate that it's getting. So, sorry, I ranted, but I'm excited for everything. So yeah. I need my blood pressure to come back down. Adrenaline was flowing for that one. Were there any other things? We kind of went over the Marvel stuff a couple episodes ago. Secret Invasion, Thunderbolts, and
How about we ask George's thoughts on the matter?
I don't have anything else on that one, actually, but I have two things that maybe Dan would like that were also they're non-Disney, but things that are a little new. One is the I don't know if you guys saw the sequel for the Knives Out trailer.
I didn't see the trailer yet. I meant
the trailer
to.
for Knives Out. Yeah,
I meant to.
Knives Out 2. There's one. Everyone should check that out when they get a chance. And then also there's a trailer for Picard season 3.
I haven't watched the first two.
I still haven't seen season 2. I don't know. Season 1, it wasn't bad by any means. It wasn't TNG. I don't know. I know
it left you wanting, right?
It just it felt like my friend said it was like
wait,
CSI,
did you see? You haven't seen season 2 yet?
I haven't. No, I'm sure there's more and more return guests.
Well, season 2 is the thing about season 2 is that like now that it's already aired, you can watch it all in like one go, and it was kind of brutal to watch it week after week. I was like,
yeah, I gotta find out where to get that. Yeah, I'm excited for that. I mean, we haven't talked about like Secret Invasion.
Yeah, we did.
We did?
Yeah, you hadn't watched the trailer yet.
Oh, I've watched the trailer.
Yeah, but we talked about it on our last House of the Dragon review.
Oh, we did?
Yeah, a little bit. But tell me, you saw the trailer. What give us your thoughts?
Yeah,
you
now
get to chime in. Yeah, do it.
I mean, I don't know. Shit, I don't have anything like eclectic to say other than I'm just like it feels good to feel excited for something Marvel again, like something that's with real stakes that's coming, and you know where Nick Fury's been, what he's been up to, what the hell's happening, and like just real shit. I mean, it's kind of the antithesis of what we were saying on our last cast about not everything has to have stakes. It can just. But this is what it's about. So it's like it has to be about that, and it's just. I'm excited. Who's a Skrull? Place your bets. Who's a Skrull right now? Somebody we know is a Skrull right now, and we don't have a fucking clue. And it's got to be someone. Well, they could just, they could change this because in the past, the Skrull would have to be someone that can't like really do like the crazy powers. So, which is why like Captain America as one of the first like swaps like made sense because he was just kind of a strong dude, like and fast and stuff. So, ideally, it would make sense that the next person to be that is a Skrull would be somebody like that who doesn't have complicated powers as such, like Thor or something. But I feel like they could change that somehow. Like new Marvel era.
They had a lot of characters were Skrulls.
But like I feel like they couldn't do like if it wasn't it like if they did like a Wolverine, you know what I mean? Like their claws would fall off or something because they weren't an actual adamantium. Like there were like flaws and ways to like find out, like things like that. Which is why Captain America was just like a good.
I mean, did you? So in you could be very right. Marvel has done all kinds of different stories, but in the comic book, because I remember the Earth's Mightiest Heroes show did Skrulls at one point, but the comic, I could be remiss remembering this. I have them somewhere, so I can always look at it and fact check myself later. But they like Mr. Fantastic and like I want to say Captain Marvel and like a bunch of people that had real powers were Skrulls, and they copied their powers because after they got the Super Skrull where they were able to copy the Fantastic Four's powers, they then were able to, when they shapeshifted, get their powers. I could be wrong. If there's any comic book and Marvel fans that are watching this, I would love to hear if I'm right or not, and I'll go back and check out the comic because I know I have it somewhere. But it was like a shitload of people in the comic books were Skrulls, and then it ended up like they didn't kill anybody, they captured them, and then at the end of the comic all of these heroes came back, and kind of you were able to like reset the universe without giving an official relaunch like they're doing every 2 years right now in comic books. But it was a nice, fun way to reset Iron Man back to a different type. So obviously they're not going to do, Tony, and they're not going to, maybe you get like, Cap back, or you can bring back people because they were the Skrull version that died. Maybe, Widow can come back. I mean, things like that. That's the opportunity that you have, is to be like, oh, that wasn't Widow, that was a Skrull, and
That would be crazy.
yeah, but yeah,
I mean,
I'm excited to see like who's a Skrull, like
right. Me
that'll
too.
be
Like,
fun.
wait, can a Skrull like impersonate like the Hulk? Like,
I can't remember. I'm
okay.
going to be honest, I can't remember.
Well, it's exciting nonetheless.
What I am intrigued about is, for me, the Secret Invasion was this impactful, massive crossover that happened in every book I was reading. So if I picked up my Spider-Man issue, it would be Spider-Man Secret Invasion, or X-Men Secret Invasion, and like all that stuff. So the gravity of the original series felt like an end game type situation where it had everybody touching it. Whereas like here, it seems very, Secret Wars, like behind the scenes, like very Cold War, type thing, where things are happening behind, and we, like, are we gonna get to see, Ant-Man as a Skrull, or like these people as Skrulls, or is it just gonna be like high level people in Shield, or like the president was a Skrull, or blah blah blah?
I had a few things. Is like, I kind of want to lean more towards Dan's version, or his concept of what this might be, is that it's more middle. It's not like anyone who's like superpower. I think it's going to be pretty plain people, but people who we haven't really expected. One of the candidates that I think is up there is people who are potentially in more than one series or one, show already. Like, what a twist if it's Wong. Like, if Wong gets replaced at one point.
Don't say
what a fucking twist. That
makes sense, because you can still do the magic without.
Yeah, what a twist if it's Wong got replaced, or something like that. What a twist if it's like,
but the thing is, Wong will be then in it.
Yeah, what a twist if it's that. What a twist if it's like Darcy, or what's his name? Agent what is the name? Yeah, Wu, Agent Wu. What a twist if it's somebody who's in multiple series, who's shown up in multiple like content or platforms already, or even like a Hawkeye, and you'd be like, oh, like,
yeah,
like, when did that happen? Like,
I really strongly feel that anyone in like a normal human, like with abilities based off of like talent or whatever, are very highly likely. Hawkeye, the new Captain America, Sam,
Ned,
perhaps even Ned,
Valkyrie.
Valkyrie's got that horse that she summons now.
That's true, apparently. But I mean, there's a lot. There's just so many like characters that there's a good potential. It is even like a Sif would be a really interesting like that. Somehow this character survived, but actually the real Sif is dead. And like, this is a Skrull who took over, and she's gonna be hide in New Asgard as like a decoy. Like, there's so many characters that have like randomly, that are so important enough, that show up in random places enough that it. Oof,
I mean, I think that'd be cool if they brought in some heroes, but to me, it does really, from the trailer, because they didn't show anybody, it's going to be just like, Madam Hydra, Julia Louis-Dreyfus is a Skrull, or Nick himself is a Skrull, something like that, or
Nick already is a Skrull.
Not the Nick we see in the trailer, but the other Nick was a Skrull.
Yeah,
and what's her name? And Agent
Rhea Hill.
Yeah. They are Skrulls representing themselves on Earth.
It's really crazy. So, the big question really is how long has Nick been off planet? How long has Thanos been playing Nick? Like,
well, we saw. When was it? We
saw him. When was the last time you think you really, really saw Nick? That we know for sure.
Off planet for Spider-Man, because that's when we figured that out. But I think it was like
somewhere. I think between the Endgame and Spider-Man, because he called.
So he leaves planet right after Endgame.
I think so.
Is that what the end credit was? There was an end credit scene where he's in space.
That was the end credit of Spider-Man.
Which Far From Home?
Far From Home, yeah. So somewhere between Endgame and Far From Home, I think he departed.
Did we even see him in Endgame?
Negative.
The last time we saw him was
Endgame.
Ultron?
No, the last time we saw Nick was in Endgame.
The post-credits theme. No, the post-credits theme. Oh yeah, of Infinity War when he calls Captain Marvel and goes, "Oh shit," and gets dusted.
Right, and then Endgame, he's there at the funeral.
There it is, the funeral.
That was the last scene that we see Nick, and then the following time we see Nick, turns out he's a Skrull. So we could say, okay, somewhere between Endgame and maybe Spider-Man, but that's still a big gap because there are other things that have happened between those two.
That's if that was a Skrull at Iron Man's funeral, that would be the Skrulls acting super fast right after
Infinity War, after Endgame.
All living things were brought back to life. So I don't know, maybe that's a good time to do it, but
the Skrulls have been around since the 90s.
True.
So
that is true.
They've been there, and maybe they had something like this in play with Nick. Like, if something happens to me, do a stand-in so it doesn't seem like something happened to me. That Fury needs to exist. Nick needs to have a presence so that it seems as though everything's all par. You know what I mean? Like, who knows? I don't know. But it was explicitly said that Nick was not around in the beginning of Endgame. So I don't know. Yeah, it'll be. I'm interested to see where it goes. There was a comic book series called Secret Warriors that was after the fall of S.H.I.E.L.D. when like Osborn took over. It was either Osborn or Tony took over S.H.I.E.L.D. or something like that. And Nick went underground and was recruiting like B or C level heroes and training them up, and then he would like bring in like Dum Dum Dugan and like all these other characters to have like a tactical team of like low level superheroes and former S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, and it was a really cool spy kind of like superhero type thing, and I was really hoping we were going to get something like that showed his time in between, but looks like we're going to get this. So maybe it's a cross. Maybe they're going to be like, hey, they had this, let's put them together and do a thing. So I don't know. I'm intrigued to see, to say the least, of where this goes. Yeah, did you say there was 2? Was there another thing? Did we already talk about everything? I think that's it for D23 and trailers and Marvel. Check out our She-Hulk last episode. We talked a little bit about some of the stuff that was announced. We talked about Daredevil at the end of that, so check that out. Make sure you check out the last House of the Dragon review, because it's got some other D23. So if you're really looking for more on what we think of some of these trailers and other shows and stuff, check out the last like 3 episodes, and they'll be the beginning and end of everything. Make sure stay tuned. We got another House of the Dragon review coming up. I haven't put up, I can say this, but by the time this goes up, I will have posted the She-Hulk review, because that's not even up yet, because it's just been crazy. We'll have She-Hulk reviews. There's going to be a lot of content this week. So make sure to stay tuned. Follow that YouTube channel so you can see when that goes live. So, if you don't see it here, you can find it there. We really love the support. I really love seeing it on the YouTube channel. Give it some likes, give us some comments. If something comes up, I try and respond all the time. As always, we have been the Modern Nerd, and thank you for watching.